What if I told you that the moment you become truly strong is the exact moment a narcissist becomes most dangerous? Carl Jung uncovered something terrifying, something that most people never see coming. When narcissists realize they can't control you anymore, they don't just walk away. They don't give up quietly. They deploy one final, devastating manipulation, one that can destroy years of healing in a matter of weeks. And if you don't recognize it, you'll fall right into their trap. But here's what's truly chilling. This isn't random behavior. It's not an emotional outburst. It's calculated psychological warfare, designed to pull you back into their web the moment you're strong enough to escape. Today, I'm going to show you exactly what this manipulation looks like, how to spot it, and most importantly, how to protect yourself from it. Let me start with something Jung discovered that will change how you see every narcissist in your life. Their greatest fear isn't rejection. It's not abandonment. It's not even being alone. Their greatest fear is the moment when their victim becomes psychologically stronger than they are. Think about that for a second. According to Jung's research on the shadow self, narcissists project their own weakness onto others to maintain an illusion of superiority. But when you start healing, when you begin setting boundaries and refusing to play their games, something shifts in their psyche. Jung called this the power inversion crisis, and what happens next will shock you. You see, narcissists aren't just looking for someone to love them. That's what they want you to believe. They're hunting for someone to control, someone whose energy they can feed off of. Carl Jung discovered that these individuals operate from what he termed the inflated ego, a psychological state where they must constantly prove their dominance to avoid confronting their own inner emptiness. When you were weak, confused, or seeking their approval, you served their purpose perfectly. You were their psychological supply, their validation machine, their emotional fuel. But the moment you start standing in your own power, the moment you stop seeking their approval and start trusting your own instincts, you become a threat to their entire identity. And that's when they pull out the weapon Jung warned us about. According to Carl Jung, narcissists will use a technique called psychological projection warfare when they sense they're losing control. They don't just gaslight you anymore. They don't just play the victim. They launch what Jung described as a final assault on your individuation process. Here's what that looks like, and why it's so dangerous. They start by targeting your newfound strength itself. Remember how they used to criticize your weaknesses? Now they flip the script entirely. Carl Jung said this is because they recognize that your strength is the one thing standing between them and total control over you. They'll say things like, "You've changed, and not in a good way. You used to be so caring, now you're just selfish. Success has really gone to your head. You think you're better than everyone now." But here's the part Jung discovered that will make your blood run cold. This isn't random criticism. According to Carl Jung's analysis of narcissistic behavior, they're specifically targeting the parts of yourself that you're most proud of healing. If you've learned to set boundaries, they'll call you cold. If you find your voice, they'll call you aggressive. If you've built confidence, they'll call you arrogant. Jung called this strength shaming, and it's designed to make you ashamed of the very qualities that set you free. Think about the psychological brilliance of this manipulation. They're not just attacking you, they're attacking the parts of you that represent your growth, your healing, your freedom. They want you to associate your strength with being a bad person.
They want you to believe that who you're becoming is somehow wrong. But the real dirty trick is still coming.
Carl Jung discovered that when strength shaming doesn't work, narcissists deploy what he termed nostalgic manipulation. They start reminiscing about the old you, the version of yourself that was easier to control. Remember when you used to laugh at my jokes? You were so much happier before you started reading all those self-help books. I miss the person you used to be. We had such a good relationship before you changed. According to Jung, this is psychological time travel, designed to pull you back into old patterns. But here's what's truly sinister about this manipulation. They're not missing the real you. They're missing the controllable you. And if you're not careful, you'll start missing that version of yourself too. You'll start questioning your growth, wondering if maybe you were happier when you were weaker, when you needed them, when you couldn't survive without their approval. This is the nostalgia trap, and it's devastatingly effective because it appeals to something deep within us, the part of us that sometimes misses the simplicity of not having to be responsible for our own happiness. But Jung warned us about something even more disturbing. When both strength shaming and nostalgic manipulation fail, narcissists will deploy their most dangerous weapon: manufactured vulnerability. Carl Jung said that narcissists are masterful at recognizing your deepest compassions and using them against you. They'll suddenly become fragile, struggling, going through a hard time right when you're at your strongest. This is the dirty trick Jung warned us about, and it's more sinister than you think. They'll create a crisis. Maybe it's a health scare, financial trouble, family drama, or an emotional breakdown, and they'll time it perfectly to coincide with your moment of strength. According to Carl Jung, this isn't coincidence. It's calculated. Jung discovered that narcissists keep detailed mental notes about what makes you feel guilty, what triggers your caretaking instincts, what causes you to abandon your boundaries. They weaponize your empathy against your healing. And here's the part that will make you question everything you thought you knew about them. Carl Jung said that narcissists will often manufacture these crises by creating the very problems they're asking you to help them solve. They'll sabotage their own relationships, their work, their health, anything to create a situation where you feel obligated to step in and save them. According to Jung's research, this serves two purposes. First, it pulls you back into the caretaker role. Second, it proves to them that they still have power over you. But Jung discovered something even more chilling about this manipulation. They don't just want your help. They want you to sacrifice your newfound strength to give it to them. Carl Jung observed that narcissists will specifically ask you to compromise the very boundaries and values you've worked hardest to establish. I know you don't usually lend money, but this is different. I know you said you needed space, but I really need you right now. I know you're trying to focus on yourself, but couldn't you just help me this once? According to Carl Jung, every just this once is designed to break down the psychological barriers you've built. They're not asking for help. They're asking you to prove that they still matter more than your own well-being. And if you fall for it, Jung warned, you'll lose everything you've worked for. The most dangerous part of manufactured vulnerability is that it feels so real. The narcissist might genuinely be in crisis, but Jung discovered that they're experts at choosing which crisis to share with you, and when. They have other people they could call, other resources they could use. But they come to you because they know you're the one who's most likely to sacrifice your boundaries to help them.
Let me paint you a picture of how this plays out in real life. Sarah spent 3 years in therapy, learning to set boundaries with her narcissistic ex-husband. She'd finally reached a point where she felt strong, confident, and free. Then, out of nowhere, he called. His mother was dying. He was struggling financially. He needed her support during this difficult time. "I know we've had our problems," he said, "but you're the only one who truly understands me. I need you right now." Sarah felt that familiar tug, that old compassion, that instinct to help. But then she remembered Jung's warning. She recognized the pattern. The timing wasn't coincidental. He didn't reach out when she was struggling. He waited until she was strong, until she was happy, until she was free. Because that's when her strength posed the greatest threat to his ego. That's when he needed to prove he could still control her. Jung's research revealed something fascinating about the timing of these manipulations. Narcissists don't just randomly decide to create a crisis. They monitor your social media. They ask mutual friends about you. They pay attention to your energy when they see you. They're waiting for signs of your independence. New job crisis time. New relationship crisis time. New confidence crisis time. It's not that they're consciously plotting your downfall every moment of every day. It's that their ego is so fragile, so dependent on control, that your strength triggers an automatic response. Your growth is their emergency. Your healing is their crisis. Your freedom is their call to action. Here's what makes this manipulation so devastating. It doesn't just attack your external boundaries. It attacks your internal sense of self. When you've worked so hard to become strong, independent, and self-sufficient, their manufactured crisis makes you question everything. Am I being selfish? What if they really need me? What if I'm the only one who can help? What kind of person would I be if I ignored their suffering? Jung understood that this internal battle is exactly what narcissists count on. They know that strong, healthy people have empathy. They know that healed people want to help others heal. So they weaponize your goodness against your growth. They make you choose between being a good person and being a free person. But here's what Jung discovered that changes everything. According to Carl Jung, the key to protecting yourself from this final manipulation is understanding what he called differentiated compassion. You can feel empathy for someone's struggles without feeling responsible for solving them. You can care about someone's pain without sacrificing your own well-being. You can be a good person without being a savior, Jung said. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. When a narcissist tries to pull you back into old patterns, even through crisis, you have to ask yourself, is helping them helping me become who I truly am, or is it preventing me from that journey? This isn't about being cold or heartless. It's about recognizing the difference between genuine need and manipulative demand. Genuine need doesn't require you to abandon your boundaries. Genuine need doesn't demand you sacrifice your progress. Genuine need doesn't time itself to coincide with your moments of strength. Jung gave us specific questions to ask ourselves when faced with manufactured vulnerability. Why are they coming to me specifically? Why now? What other resources do they have? What am I being asked to sacrifice? How does this request align with my values and boundaries? What would happen if I said no? If their crisis can only be solved by you abandoning your boundaries, it's not a crisis. It's a manipulation. If their emergency requires you to sacrifice your well-being, it's not an emergency. It's a trap. If their need can only be met by you returning to old patterns, it's not a need. It's a demand for control. Jung's final insight about narcissists will change how you see every relationship. Carl Jung discovered that narcissists fear your strength because it reminds them of their own potential for growth. Potential they've abandoned in favor of control and manipulation. When you refuse to shrink yourself to make them comfortable, you're not just setting a boundary. You're showing them what's possible when someone chooses authenticity over approval. And that's exactly why they'll fight so hard to pull you back down. Your strength is a mirror that reflects their weakness. Your growth is a reminder of their stagnation. Your freedom is proof of their prison. They can't stand to see you succeeding where they've failed. They can't bear to watch you become the person they're too afraid to be. So they'll do everything in their power to convince you that your strength is selfishness, that your growth is cold, that your freedom is cruelty. But here's what Carl Jung wants you to remember. Every time you resist their manipulation, every time you maintain your boundaries despite their manufactured crisis, you're not just protecting yourself, you're proving that their power over you was always an illusion. Jung said that true strength isn't about being immune to manipulation. It's about recognizing it, naming it, and choosing your authentic self anyway. Because at the end of the day, their desperation to control you is just proof of how powerful you've already become. The narcissist's final dirty trick only works if you forget who you are. But once you see it for what it is, a last desperate attempt to reclaim control, you realize that their need to manipulate you is actually evidence of your freedom. Carl Jung discovered that the moment you stop being controllable is the moment you truly begin living. And no manufactured crisis, no matter how convincing, is worth trading that freedom away. So the next time a narcissist in your life suddenly develops a crisis right when you're feeling strong, remember Jung's warning. This isn't a coincidence. It's not bad timing. It's not a test from the universe. It's the final, desperate act of someone who's lost control over you. And recognizing it is the first step to ensuring they never get it back. Your strength threatened them so much that they had to manufacture a crisis to pull you back down. What does that tell you about how powerful you've become? What does that tell you about how far you've come? What does that tell you about who you really are? The narcissist's final dirty trick is actually their admission of defeat. Their last manipulation is proof of your first victory, your freedom, your strength, your truth. Don't trade it away for their manufactured emergency. You've come too far to go back now. And deep down, even they know it. That's why they're so desperate to stop you. That's why they'll try this one last dirty trick, because they know that once you see through it, they'll never be able to control you again. And that terrifies them more than anything else in the world. Your liberation is their greatest fear. Make sure it becomes your greatest reality. Subscribe to Echoes of Thought, where psychology meets truth. Don't fall for their final trick. Your strength is not the problem, it's the proof you've already won. Stay free. Stay awake. Stay unshakable.